At the very beginning, we ponder what it looks like when someone is deeply heartbroken. A man who never thought he loved his wife experiences a shocking turn of events. One moment he's sharing laughs with her, and the next, a sudden car accident thrusts them into different worlds. His father-in-law breaks the devastating news of his wife's passing, yet his reaction is eerily calm. He gazes at the hospital bed she once occupied, wipes the blood from his shoes with a serene composure, and even calmly goes shopping to satisfy his hunger. When a chocolate bar frustratingly gets stuck in the vending machine, his emotionless state persists. He simply takes a photo of the contact information. Returning home, he opens the fridge to find sticky notes left by his wife, feeling nothing inside. He quietly consumes the food she prepared. At her funeral the next day, while friends and family weep and console each other, he stands apart and touched by sorrow. Somber music plays at the memorial service, and the mood is heavy with grief. He's still not accepting his wife's departure, looks around helplessly, lost for words. To not disturb the mournful atmosphere, he retreats to the bathroom, attempting to force tears in front of the mirror. Despite his efforts, no tears come, and he begins to doubt if he ever truly loved his wife. He recalls the vending machine incident from the day before and decides to write a letter to the vending machine company. It's unclear why he chooses to express his frustrations through a letter, but he feels compelled to communicate his terrible experience. He pens a respectful letter to the customer service explaining the malfunction of machine number 32 at St. Peter's Hospital. He had inserted $1.50, expecting his selected chocolate bar to drop, but it didn't. He mentions his hunger and irritation, and incidentally, his wife's passing just 10 minutes prior. He clarifies he doesn't blame them but wants to recount the day's events. Although the man recounts the day of the accident, his narrative reveals his deep affection for his wife. Ensuring no detail is overlooked, he begins to share their love story, as if resolving the vending machine issue requires starting from his early life with her. Unknowingly, his story fills several pages, seemingly placing the vending machine's significance above his wife's death. He returns to work as usual, greeted by his colleagues' surprised looks. He casually says hello and instructs his secretary to mail the letter, emphasizing its importance to him. Returning to work so soon after the funeral breaks conventional expectations. His secretary enters to offer condolences, suggesting he take some time off, her voice laden with sorrow. He, however, asks for tax documents, focusing solely on work, leaving the secretary in disbelief. After work, he starts to notice things he had previously ignored. His wife's long hair on a comb, a large tree blown down outside their home, various suitcases at the bus station, and the busy passersby. These mundane details strangely capture his attention, as if something is missing from his life, desperately needing to be filled. He comes home to find his father-in-law unexpectedly tending to the lawn, subtly encouraging him to stay strong and not to drown in sorrow. It feels as though everyone is worried about him, fearing he might become abnormal from his grief. His father-in-law comes over to have a heart-to-heart after learning he went back to work, offering comfort and advice. However, he doesn't absorb any of it, instead shifting the conversation to the price of alcohol. While everyone tries to soothe his pain, he feels nothing, moving through his days like a zombie. He even jokes with a stranger on the bus about not loving his wife, acknowledging how sad it is that he feels no grief even though she's gone. When asked why he talks about his wife if he didn't love her, he pulls the train's emergency brake in a moment of madness after a brief silence. When questioned by the police about his actions, he stammers without a clear explanation. Once the police learn about his recent loss, they let him go without further inquiry. His parents want him to come back home with them for reassurance, but he just smiles, offering no response. Returning home, he eats alone in the large, quiet house, when suddenly he hears running water. He finds the fridge leaking, a problem his wife had warned him about but he never took seriously. He decides to heed his wife's advice for once and starts fixing the fridge. His father-in-law had told him that to fix something, you need to dismantle it completely to find the faulty part. With the right skills, even a broken heart can be mended. But lacking mechanical skills, he fails to reassemble the parts, mirroring his inability to piece his heart back together. He finds a strange satisfaction in dismantling things. The next day, he disassembles the constantly jamming office toilet door and his glitchy computer. He even tries to take apart his boss's antique clock, wanting to understand its inner workings, but it was an heirloom from the boss's mother. His boss thinks he's gone mad and suspends him, suggesting he takes a rest. On his way home, he sees workers demolishing a house and offers to pay to join them. The foreman, faced with such an odd request, just hands him a sledgehammer and lets him be. Impressed by his fervent demolition, the workers give him a bigger hammer, sitting aside, smoking and calling him a hopeless fool. Yet he doesn't care, completely lost in the act of destruction, as if it helps him forget everything else. The next day, he returns to the demolition site, but this time he accidentally steps on a nail. Lying on the ground in pain, he rolls around, perhaps feeling physical pain for the first time since his wife's death. Although it's not grief, the pain proves he's still alive. In that moment of agony, he sees his wife in a reflection, but the vision quickly fades. It's as if the air around him solidifies. He struggles to breathe, trying to escape the suffocating feeling, but to no avail. Sensing something wrong with his body, he seeks out a doctor and describes his condition in detail. In his imagination, he sees his heart missing a piece. However, the doctor dismisses this notion after a checkup, finding nothing physically wrong with him. Thus, he starts dating women, attempting to fill the void in his heart with emotional connections. He brings a woman home but ends up talking about his wife's daily life all night. Despite insisting he never loved his wife, the woman perceives him as deeply affectionate. The next day, he feels a spark of excitement hearing a child play rock music, the lively rhythm moving him to dance to the loud music, seemingly searching for joy in any form. He fails to realize that although he doesn't feel sad, he's desperately seeking happiness. He asks the child to save the music on his phone, then dances from the subway station to the streets, from his office to his home, oblivious to the world around him. Despite feeling sane, others view him with suspicion. When well-meaning strangers ask if he needs help, he always insists he's fine. The thrill of demolition with a sledgehammer no longer satisfies him. Eventually, he uses a bulldozer to demolish his own house, turning the cozy villa into ruins. As he looks at the wreckage of his home, he feels an odd sense of relief. Entering the room filled with memories, he swings his hammer at his wife's vanity, as if trying to obliterate everything associated with her, or the reality he can't accept. He discovers a letter on the floor, his wife's pregnancy report, a secret she never shared with him. He drives to his in-laws to confront them, the sunlight glaring on his way. He lowers the sun visor, revealing a note from his wife, but he's too distraught to read it. He arrives during a company meeting and confronts his in-laws publicly, questioning if they knew about the pregnancy. He's puzzled why his wife kept it a secret. After some internal struggle, his mother-in-law reveals the child wasn't his. Hearing this, he shows no anger, only visiting his wife's grave in silence. A stranger bringing flowers, mistaken for a lover, is actually the driver involved in the accident. The man tearfully apologizes to the driver, who breaks down in guilt. Comforting the driver, the man realizes he no longer cares about potential infidelity. He just wants to know if he ever loved his wife. Back in the car, he reads the note from his wife stuck to the sun visor, a playful joke about remembering her on sunny days and missing her on rainy ones. Her romantic gestures and the small note she used to leave bring him to laughter, then to tears, as he finally connects with the depth of his feelings for her. Love may be late to arrive, just as grief can be. In this moment, his longing for his wife pours out, with memories resurfacing in his mind. He realizes how perfectly she complemented his soul, how he always dismissed her affection, seeing her merely as a legal partner bound by marriage, unaware that she had become the most essential part of his life. This silent, constant companionship was more profound than any grand romantic vow. After his wife's departure, he feels indifferent, yet his actions are uncharacteristically drastic. Despite not feeling sad, he desperately seeks happiness. It's as if a part of him is malfunctioning, his heart cracked and incomplete, unsure of how to mend it. It's said that one doesn't feel sadness at the loss of a loved one because they haven't accepted the reality. Perhaps only now does he realize she's truly gone. Whether he loved his wife becomes clear to him in this moment. Then, with tearful eyes, he firmly tells his father-in-law that he has always deeply loved his wife. Acknowledging her absence means facing a long journey through painful memories. He walks the paths his wife once did, trying to recapture her laughter and joy. Even years later, he can't move past his grief, but he's able to smile and tell himself that from the day they met, she took residence in his heart, and he never forgot her, not even for a moment. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.